Welcome back to another edition of the Friday Five. Let me jump out of the truck, get into the studio. Let's get back to talking about mortgages. I'm all set up in the studio and ready to rock, so let's jump into mortgage rates. Again, national averages from Mortgage News Daily. These are yesterday's rates since the markets are closed today for Good Friday. VA 30-year fixed, 6.38%. FHA 30-year fixed, 6.36%. Conventional 30-year fixed, 6.87%. And conventional 15-year fixed, 6.28%. So we are about 0.25% better, lower than we were last week on Friday, but we are still about 0.25% worse than we were 2 weeks ago on that Friday. So some of the improvement related to the tariff whole conversation calming down a little bit. And then also last week there was a couple inflation reports, CPI and PPI, that came in better than expected, but they really didn't impact mortgage rates at all, I think because everyone was so worried, traders are so worried about the tariffs. So I think maybe those improvements in those inflation reports filtered into rates this week. It was a calmer week, less volatility, just some nice improvement and no crazy bounces up and down too much. Number two, question that has popped up a couple times just in the last couple days. Do I get a better interest or lower interest rate with less down payment on a conventional loan? So last night, I have a customer who's under contract, 15% down, and he texted me and said, hey, is it better if I put 3 or 5% down to get a better rate? I understood where he was coming from because I understand Fannie Mae's loan level price adjuster chart, but it was, I was surprised to see him reach out for that. Then this morning, a real estate agent that I work with texted me and said, hey, I sent you a video on Facebook. Can you look at it? Let me know what you think. Then I knew why my customer was texting me last night. So apparently there was a video that went mortgage viral, which means like 10,000 people viewed it because, let's be honest, mortgages are kind of boring. But anyway, this guy, this loan originator, I think in Tennessee, I don't know him, he was advocating for putting less down so you get a better interest rate, which I understand the concept and the strategy, but I think there are some concerns. And first, to answer the question, yes, you actually, if you put 25%, if you're planning on putting 25% or less down, you actually will get a little bit better rate if you put less down than you were planning. So to put 5% down instead of 15% down, the 5% down rate is going to be slightly better. So here's why I would caution you against doing that, though. First, even if the rate's lower, your payment's going to be higher because you're borrowing more. That may be obvious, but it's worth mentioning, I think. Second, and this might be the most important one to me, if you have mortgage insurance, the monthly cost of that PMI, it's risk-based, meaning if you put 5% down, the premium amount is much more expensive than if you put 10% down. So the cost of the mortgage insurance is going to go up if you put less down. And lastly, the guy in the video was also suggesting what you do is you put less down at closing so you get a better rate. And then after you close, you take the money that you didn't put down, you pay it against the principal balance to drop it down, and then you have the mortgage recast, and then you'll be left with the best of both worlds. 2 things or 3 things that misses out on. One, if you don't get to 20% equity, you're still going to have that more expensive mortgage insurance. So, and it's based on, again, the higher factor of, 5% down or 3% down instead of 15% down or 10 or whatever. Second, if you do a recast, there's going to be a cost associated with the recast, usually $250 to $500. So you actually are going to incur cost on the backside if you want the mortgage recast, meaning you apply that lump sum to the principal and then ask the servicer to adjust the payments based on the new balance over the remaining term of the loan. And the last piece, the third piece that I think gets missed in there is, you're just going to finish your mortgage process. And then I think the last thing that you want to do is jump into a new mortgage process where you now have to ask your loan servicer, hey, can you recast my loan? Hey, can you delete the PMI if you get to that 20% equity with the principal reduction? It's just, I worked for a big servicer for a number of years, and that process takes a month or two. And it's tedious. And I think it's the last thing that you want to do right after you went through the mortgage process. So I think it could be worth, it could be more hassle than it's worth. And to get that better rate, you could always just pay a little bit more at closing to buy down the rate. And I don't know, I think that could be the way to go. But I think it's a conversation you have with your loan originator, and hopefully you work with someone who is going to be honest with you and give you your different options that are available to you. And maybe that's what the guy was trying to, point to with his video. Just like, hey, let's talk to originators who are going to look out for your best interest and suggest different strategies, not just give you a one-size-fits-all. Number 3, 401k distribution. So I have a customer right now who's purchasing a 2-unit property. He currently lives in one of the units, and he's purchasing it from his landlord. And I think it's a great decision, great investment for him. But he was going to take a $110,000 distribution, not a loan, a distribution out of his retirement account. And I don't know how old he is, but he's in his early 30s, I think. So he knew that he was going to incur a 10% early withdrawal penalty right out of the gate when he took that $110,000 out. So $11,000 haircut right off the bat. What he didn't realize was that he was going to be taxed on that distribution as earned income. So I talked to him about it. I said, I think you're going to have a huge tax bill here if you do this. Let's jump on a call with a CPA that I know and work with. And the CPA confirmed, yeah, you're probably, and this customer's in a higher tax bracket too. He's a decent wage earner. He probably would have been in like the 30 to 40% income tax bracket after he took this big $100,000 distribution. And we explained to him, if you do this, you're going to have a $30,000 to $35,000-ish tax liability that you owe to the IRS, along with state taxes as well, 3.3% in Pennsylvania. So I suggested to him, instead of doing this, don't take this big distribution, take a 401k loan, put 5% down, and you'll end up with, yes, a higher mortgage payment, but you won't have this massive tax penalty and this $40,000 to $45,000 in dead money between the early withdrawal penalty and the income taxes that you're going to pay. So that's where strategy came in. Make sure that we're looking out for the overall big picture financial interest of our clients. Number 4, what is the Middle Class Mortgage Insurance Premium Act? So I know everyone's super excited to hear about acts that are in the House of Representatives, but this is a new bill that was recently introduced in the House that would make mortgage insurance premiums tax deductible again and potentially permanently, and also increase the income threshold so more middle-class homeowners could take advantage of the deduction. So PMI hasn't been tax deductible since back to the end of 2021, and even when it was, there was an income cap, so if you earned over a certain amount, you weren't eligible to take it anyway. So this new bill makes it deductible, or will make it deductible again if it gets passed, and then it'll increase the income cap. We'll see where it goes, but it would be a win for homeowners. Number 5, the quote of the week: be yourself, everyone else is already taken. That's by Oscar Wilde. And then I'm going to pair that with a similar quote from Jeremiah 1:4 that says, I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart. And my encouragement to you is, you're unique, embrace your uniqueness, be yourself, be authentic, don't be a social chameleon. The world needs you. It doesn't need a replica of someone else. So thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. I hope you enjoy. It's going to be beautiful in eastern Pennsylvania for this Easter weekend. So enjoy the weekend with family and friends. If I can help you in any way, please reach out.